What if I told you that someone you see every single day has a secret life you'd never expect? Today, Reddit users reveal the truth about people living double lives. And trust me, some of these stories will change the way you look at everyone around you. Just to let y'all know, sex workers are among you. This isn't meant to be ominous or a threat, but y'all do realize that voluntary, happy sex workers exist and are part of this community, right? We see how you talk about us, like we aren't humans too. I regularly see posts acting like sex workers are some third, lesser gender. A shifting, soft-focused deconstruction of femininity that is nipping at the ankles of proper feminism and somehow devaluing womanhood as a whole. Last night, there was a whole thread I saw as I got off a 10-hour shift asking women, not sex workers, because we don't exist here, right? To defend how sex work can never be voluntary and not objectifying. None of the responses I saw were from sex workers. Most were common sense. Sex work is work. Sex work is no more objectifying or dehumanizing than other labor. Thank you for that. I also saw a lot of really bad data. If the bad takes had data backing them at all. That 90% of FSSW want to leave the industry, but can't number is taken from street-based sex workers, who are usually survival sex workers. Women who do voluntary sex work tend to avoid being interviewed/giving data because it endangers them legally, and because sex workers, as contractors and marginalized individuals, tend to be wary of doing free labor for anyone. Also, we don't want the Nordic model. The Nordic model perpetuates racism and body shaming, and only creates safety and opportunity for desirables, while leaving those outside the gender and beauty norms struggling in illicit sex work. Decriminalization provides legal protection to all. Cite your scholastic articles when you come at me, and make sure the sources are actually people of diverse communities. I went to college for this shit, wrote papers on it, and while not defensive or dismissive of the dangers my community faces, wanted to stop being morphed into some monolithic experience of suffering. Because it isn't. Most sex workers, and I know many, have pretty similar complaints about their job that you do. Except theirs come with fewer securities and rarely have 401k match. Also, we have no legal protection if bad things happen to us, outside of the confines of the few areas in which it is legalized. Even then, only for those lucky enough to be graced with the blessing of legality. Trans women, women of color, disabled or out-of-shape sex workers are not granted the same, unless they are lucky enough to be accepted by an institution. If you want to understand a relatively vintage microcosm of this conundrum, watch Nude Live Girls Unite. Peep shows and strip clubs are very good, accessible demonstrations of this workplace stratification by societal beauty norms. I am here as your friend and ally. I give advice. I comfort. I use my experience to be a part of this community and rarely find rebuke for my opinions. On these threads, though, I've been called not a feminist, pardon, a pick-me. I regularly tell men they need to pay me per question. I don't needlessly interact with strange men without a financial benefit. Y'all were fucking broke dudes for attention before 4B. Who's the pick-me here? And told I just don't understand my own suffering. Cool. Contrary to popular belief, some of us actually had dads around. I don't need women to pick up the mantle of patriarchal protector for my weak, traumatized sex worker brain. I've been in this for 11 years. Worked many disciplines. Friends in every field. From a friend who puked on digital demand for a dentist in exchange for him giving her a whole new grill, luxury dental too, to women who just extort money from pay pigs, to whores and full-time submissive pets of rich men. I've gotten people out of trafficking. Help people make industry exit plans. I do not want anyone in this industry who does not want to be here. So stop talking over us. Stop talking about us like we're a mystical concept of man-pleasing suffering. We are diverse. We come for different reasons and stay and go for different reasons. Please listen when we tell you what kind of support, both social and legal, we need. If it helps, think of voluntary sex workers like professional wrestlers or skydivers or mountain rescue people. It takes a certain kind, and those people tend to love it. There, you got your free labor out of me. Also, please stop using the word prostitute. It's full-service sex worker, or FSSW. Prostitution is the crime by which sex workers are criminalized. We don't talk about you. about the voluntary happy sex workers, because you don't need help. You found what you're happy in. The rest of us are concerned about the women who actually need help. The survival sex workers that you dismiss and shove under the rug. The ones whose stories you declare as overrepresented. The existence of people like you does not lessen at all the women who are forced to sell their bodies to men to put food on the table. The existence of the small amount of voluntary sex workers does not lessen the need of those who are exploited and trafficked. We talk about them, and not about you, because they need help, and you do not. I'm sorry you don't have a 401k or legal protection for this work. But by your admission, this is a choice. You could get a job with more protections anytime you wanted. That's what voluntary means. All of the problems you speak of could be solved by stepping out of the patriarchal explorative system you found a cozy place in. Most women in that system do not have that luxury. We have women who are forced into this involuntarily, who are abused and exploited and trafficked and beaten and degraded and raped and murdered. And we have women like you, who could get a job with a 401k anytime you wanted. You're not the priority here. Our feminism isn't some hashtag girl power thing where we sit around all day and pat each other on the backs for being women who found something they enjoy. And our feminism is not the kind where we put band-aids on the first world problems and leave others to starve. Nor is our feminism the kind where we ignore active, horrific patriarchal power structures to celebrate those who've turned those structures into a choice. That's not what we do here. You said it yourself. I don't need women to pick up the mantle of patriarchal protector for my weak, traumatized sex worker brain. Good, because we're not going to. You recognize that you don't need help. So stop expecting us to talk about you when there's women who actually do need help. Again, I'm glad you're happy. I've got nothing against voluntary sex workers. And I'm sorry that people patronize you and assume you need saving. But we don't talk about you that much because we're here to help those that need help, to fight for the women who need to be fought for. And as you've admitted, that does not include you. These stories prove one thing. You never really know what someone is going through, or what life they're living behind closed doors.